All right, I think we're on. Good morning, everybody. Hi, ladies. How are you today?
I'm
Excited about
terrific.
being
How are
here.
you? Yeah. I'm excited too, Lynn. I love this actually to be on this event, as a matter of fact.
The
Delinda, before we get started, I have a question.
Oh, right. I have an answer.
How did it get to be the fifth Tuesday again so quickly?
I don't know. There's only 4 of them a year, right?
I know. And all of a sudden here we are. And I was like, wow, that was quick.
Hey,
I
well,
know,
God
right?
knew that we had something that we needed to share.
You bet.
Cool. Oh, it just is. I want to click over here just real quick. So, as y'all know, those of you watching, if you paid attention to Facebook and stuff, this is a big day. This is our word party. I love, words. And Lynne is a wordsmith, so she's really good at words. If you ever need something tweaked, she's a great tweaker. She has a great way of saying things in a better way. And it's just so fun to think about how powerful our words are. I mean, they can hurt people, but they also can uplift and make them feel better or just whatever. So we do need to always watch our words. And as we're talking about going into next year, we always like to. So for about 10, maybe 12 years, I've been doing this. I was thinking back on that. And it's really amazing how powerful it is. How have y'all found it over the last few years? Because I know, Cathy, you have. Lynne, I don't know if you've been doing that for a few years as well.
Yep.
And have you found that it's kind of a cool thing? That it's helpful?
Well, it becomes kind of like a rudder on whatever my ship is. And, when I'm feeling particularly lost or at sea, then it's a good thing to remind myself and get back into position for me.
That is great. What about you, Cathy? Have you found it to be productive?
For me, I have, like you mentioned, Linda, I've been doing the words of intention for quite a few years in some of my different networking groups. And I use my words. A lot of people use it as a goal and it drives me to whatever the word would be. And for me, it is an opportunity to start a conversation because all of a sudden someone will say, why did you pick that? So it allows me to continue with whatever that is so that it kind of gets them in the mode to I never thought of it that way. Instead of being something I'm that is a goal, and I have used the word catalyst before. And so for me, the word of intention is a catalyst to get people talking about what they could actually choose as a rudder. Definitely, Lynn, that is a beautiful word description,
It is.
or certainly a goal to drive toward. But again, in my case, I basically have used mine as a conversation starter.
I love that. And that could be why you're such a great connector.
I love the fact that your Joy actually mentioned that because it's amazing what our AI tools offer us on a daily or weekly or even monthly basis.
Yeah, it really is. Um, I did so for December, if Jonah, I don't know if you know or not, but I did a daily little inspiration thing every day that went out. And so I've decided to continue that in January. So Joy and I were working on that yesterday. And she gives me the words and I give her the direction, and then I go put it in Canva. And then I send it over to Gigi, who then helps me post it out on social media. It's like I'd be spending a fortune on an assistant if I didn't have those tools. So it's kind of cool. So maybe
Especially when you have multiple assistants, think about that.
Mhm.
And literally by the time you hire a team, it would be certainly costly.
Yeah, for sure. So let before we dive in and really tell everybody what our word is, what are some words that either y'all have used in the past or that you just think are really good words? Because some of you watching, maybe you haven't heard of this before, or maybe you just think it's kind of dumb, or maybe like, I don't know why I need to do that. So thinking about, and I'll start and just say, so my first time I did it, it took me 2 years and I had to use the same word.
I
And the
remember
word
that
was
actually.
release. It took
Yes,
me
I
2
remember
years
that.
to release all the stuff I was trying to control. My life was in a state of like overwhelm or something, and I was trying to control it, until I realized I can't. So, but some great words. I love the word release and the word intention. itself, intentionally, so that that it helps guide you, as you were saying, Lynn, whatever your word is, helps you think back. So if your word, say, was intention, then every time you get in the middle of something, think, okay, I need to be intentional about what I'm doing, not just doing things to do them. There's joy and hope and love and peace. And, what are some other words that either y'all have used or that you want to just throw out there to give people some ideas?
Lynn, please go ahead.
Well, and I've run the gamut from abundance to why not to miracles. And and it's whatever occurs to me at the end of the year as I'm looking back on what it is that has happened, and as I'm looking forward to what it is I wish to see. And here's another tool, because I'm a neuroscience nerd, so I know setting goals, particularly New Year's resolutions, really doesn't work.
No.
I mean, the stats are awful. Like within like 2 months, we drop, well, at least half of us stop paying attention, and and it goes down further the longer we go. And so those things don't motivate us. So instead, every year, and I'll do it again this year, on New Year's Eve, I do what's called a New Year's Eve retrospective, where I sit wherever I am and I create this vision for what I want to be, I want my world to look like a year from now. So New Year's Eve, I'll be thinking about what I want my world to look like in, December 2026, and look around and what is it that I see and what is it that I've created and what is it that has happened. And then when I have that vision, I incorporate that into my year, and it becomes, well, if this thing is really important to me, then what can I do to increase the chances that it will actually happen? So rather than saying I will lose 20 pounds, I will do this, that, or the other thing, and know that it's not going to work, to create the vision for myself and have that motivate me. And obviously, the word for the year also plays into that, but it's called a New Year's Eve retrospective. So I invite other people to give this a go, because it's a much it feels less driven and less fake. It's more, this is what I want to, here's the world I want to live in, and here's what it looks like by the end of the year.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm going to take one of the things that Nancy White, when she was on, and I keep remembering, and I've actually written it down to myself a couple of times to make sure I don't forget. She goes somewhat from what you're saying, but she goes to the next step of, she writes a letter now as if it's the end of 2026 and thanking God now for it happening in 2026. And I actually started mine this morning. And it's kind of the same thing. It's like, okay, what do I want my life to look like? How do I want God to use me this year? What's going to happen? Whatever. So it's kind of, so I want to encourage y'all, same thing. I mean, look at where you want to be next year, and what will you be thankful for? What would be in your thank you note to God for the year? Or do the retrospective. It's just good to project yourself ahead a year and kind of say, I think it's a great idea.
And you're absolutely right about writing it down, because our memories, come January 1st, we're already, moving ahead. And to write it down someplace helps move it from your short term into your long term memory. And they've actually done research on goals. And if you sit down and write your goals, and even if you put them in a drawer someplace, by the end of the year, if you look back, you'll be surprised at how many of these things you've accomplished just because you were mindful about writing them down. So a letter to God, a New Year's Eve retrospective, whatever works for you, write it down.
And Cathy, what about you, and how the words have worked for you, or some ideas for people? If they're just now thinking about this, their brain's going to have to noodle a little while to come up with that. What do you say?
Noodle is actually a great word as well. And while you ladies were speaking, I don't ever call it a New Year's resolution. I call it a New Year's revelation. And that way it's an opportunity to cause your brain to even think a little further. And Lynn obviously is our neuroscience expert, but my brain always needs a bit of a catalyst. Some of my words have been catalyst, succession. I did one time, and that started quite a buzz from a standpoint. Succession, where are you going? What's happening? What are you doing? And I was like, hang on a second. If leaders do not groom future leaders, whatever group or entity you're involved with will most likely crash because there's no one to take your place if you retire or resign or whatever. And even from a standpoint of retirement, when a lot of people actually say I'm retiring this year, for me, even if it was a retire word, it's not retire, it's refire. Many times you have an opportunity to push yourself to another level for a different reason. And again, succession, catalyst, all of those words have been impactful from a standpoint of conversation starters. My word for 2024, which I find amazing how God works from a standpoint of, what is 2025 going to look like, Kath? And for me, my word, as soon as Jesus gave it to me, it was anticipation. And it's been a very cool year from a standpoint of anticipation. And that was my word for 2025. And I'm super excited about 2026 because when he gave it to me, my brain exploded. So, Lynn, I don't know if that's a neuroscience fact that your brain can explode when Jesus talks to you, but mine did.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I love that. So maybe we should go ahead and reveal it. So, Cathy, what's your word and why?
All right. So as I mentioned, when it's a matter of Jesus actually, when I'm doing my Bible studies and all the different groups I'm in, first of all, how cool that is that he gave me Bible studies for this year. But all of a sudden, when I'm thinking about, Lord, what do you think my word would be? How would I be able to start the conversation about you without wearing a Jesus cross thing around my neck or bumper stickers on my car or whatever that looks like? And look what he gave me. And so
Oh,
as soon as he said, there's victory in Christ, I was like, oh my gosh. And so it was seriously the coolest thing in the whole world because then my brain went to Victory. That's the Christian's battle cry. Go Jesus. And I thought, oh my gosh, I need so much therapy. It's not even funny. But it's back to that same drill. When he gave me victory, I was like, and talk about double entendre. He gave me victory as a word, and he's given me victory in him from a standpoint of leaning into the Bible. And your Bible study has been dynamic for me as well, Delinda. So I appreciate you with the experiencing God and some of the things that we've talked about during those studies. It's just the coolest thing in the world when you lift your eyes to Jesus and take your focus off yourself. It changes absolutely everything. And that has definitely been a victory for me already because I had anticipation about what the year would look like. And it was like joyful times a million. I didn't have a clue what it would be. And he always exceeds our expectations.
I love it. That's great. Like, yay, like, woo-hoo. All right. How about you, Lynn?
Well, it's already been a victory with us, Cathy. So, and I have to admit, I struggled a bit with mine this year. Because this year, 2025 was not the year I expected it to be, and was taken over by my brother being ill, diagnosed with cancer, and a lot of the focus has been on him. And and setting things aside that I was planning on doing, and of course, like most normal human beings, I got into the harumph mode of this is not what I wanted. Send me what I want. And and so I toyed with, and this is the last conversation Delinda and I had. I toyed with hope because I really felt hopeless this year, and I thought, well, what I want for myself is hope. And then the more I sat with that and played with it, I realized my word for the coming year is going to be receive. I have been out there creating things, and I have a tendency to turn everything into work. Well, if I just do this, if I do this, if I do this. So I have a hard time with being rather than doing. And I thought, okay, I may be blocking the good things that can come into my life because I'm so busy doing. So how about in 2026, I flip it around and turn it into receiving. I am open to receive. And I have no idea what's going to come in. but I will be aware of things coming in and what God wants to send to me. And obviously be grateful for that. So my word for 2026 is receive.
I love it. I love it. You know, there's a word picture, and I've used it in a couple of speeches, and it's not anything brand new. It's like so often we go through life and we're holding on, right? You know, we don't know what else to do but just hold on to survive. And when we begin to release that so that we can receive, we have to have our hands and our hearts open so the blessings can come and receive them. That's a beautiful word for you, Lynne, as well as because I know you so well. You're such a giver. So you've spent so much time giving to your brother. I mean, the amount of time and doing, and everybody out there doesn't know, but you make so many of his appointments for him. He's just not able to do some of that. And so you've given so much that I think that's a beautiful word, that now you're going to just open yourself to receive whatever blessings God has for you. And he does have a lot. I know he does. So
I know that too. Delinda, when you were mentioning that, one of the Bible studies I have been in for a couple years, actually, we were talking about the circle maker. And Mark Batterson is the author of that and Draw the Circle and several of those books. And he actually talks about many times, I believe it was Hebrews, actually, they were taught to pray this way with their hands down. Lord, I needed this and I needed that and I needed something. And then when you flip it, you receive all of that. And that's what came into my brain when you said that, Lynne, because now you are able to actually receive from Jesus all the dynamic blessings he's going to offer you, regardless of what happens in any of our lives. He literally has the blessing. And Delinda, I know you don't have a control problem as I do, as I have, but all of a sudden it's like, Catherine, you're not in charge. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry. I will receive whatever you give me because I'm not in charge and I don't control stuff. Who knew, right?
yeah,
But I
right.
think the receive thing is very cool. And I love your word, Lynne.
Yeah,
Thank
that is really awesome. Okay, guys, I'm going to do a little share screen and I'm going to share my word with you. I had two words that were so strong based on just where God's brought me this year. So last year, my word was chosen, which was just perfect. I mean, just, amazing how God is. That really believing that I am chosen by him for his good, for his glory, and to reveal to others and to share that message that everybody is chosen. We are all chosen for him, and we all have, he's set us apart. And so I've loved that word this year. So it's like, okay, Lord, so what's the word going to be this year? Am I going to keep chosen another year? Because, I'm not opposed to keeping a word for 2 years. And the two words that kept coming to me, and they're so interlinked, so I did make a decision, but the two words were disciple and servant, because this whole year of growth has been about experiencing God, drawing nearer to him, loving him more, and being a better leader. And so, as I said, they both go together so well, but the word that I chose is servant, and to serve Jesus and to serve others. So I'm gonna, if I can do this pretty quickly, sometimes I'm a little slow on it. And let's see if this shows up here. Okay, do y'all see that?
Being a
Yes.
servant, yes, being a
Mhm.
servant.
And our world has such a negative whatever about that word. We think society, whatever, kind of thinks of servant as a slave. A servant is not a slave. And I love this definition. A servant is someone who willingly places themselves in service to God and others, not out of obligation, but out of love, humility, and purpose. And Jesus even said in Mark 10:45, for even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. So that is my word for the year, to servant and to serve. They, obviously whichever part of the word that we're using. So I'm excited about that because I just know that as we continue in the Bible studies, Cathy, the one that you're in, the couple of others, and God has led me into doing a couple of other things, which are just truly about serving others and being a servant leader. I would say I've always loved my people, all of the fun, fearless ladies, wherever God's placed me. But I want to be more like Jesus. I want to be more serving in nature and loving more and taking myself out, because I can, you know, kind of put myself up there, and I don't want to do that. So that's my word for the year.
I love that so much, Delinda. And while we're on the subject of servant and servant leadership is one of the words, two of the words that I had chosen over the years as well. I wanted to make an offering to all of our friends in the Fun Fearless Female Global Community of Christian Women community. Karen Hagens, one of our superstars, she's actually on your leadership team, as I understand, to choose our nonprofits for the luncheons that you have that when we get to meet in person in Kansas City. Karen has offered to make cards, postcards for everyone's word of the year. And so all you have to do, and I'll put this in the comment section of this video on the Fun Fearless page, and that way everyone can see. You just send an email to Karen, tell her what your word is, give her your name and address, of course, and she actually creates cards with one of her companies, and she sends them to you at no charge. So it's the coolest servant leadership role in the world from a standpoint of keeping that word in your brain all the time and being, and then my word will actually be in there from the card that she has created for me. So that word will be in the comment section, victory. And so again, with Karen being such a dynamic servant leader here in Kansas City and beyond, I thought that was a very cool offering. And again, free of charge. All you have to do is put your word in the comment or send it to the email that Karen has, and I'll put that in the comment section when we're finished here. So I thought that was a very fun, Happy New Year gift.
Yes, it is. And I say we do have a couple of people. Hey, Debbie and Nancy, good morning. And is this cool? Debbie's word is trust, and Nancy's word is trust.
Oh, wow.
And trust is such a fabulous word. I think, Lynne, you even considered that one for a little bit. Did I hear you mention that in one of our conversations?
Mhm.
Because it's a powerful word. And I think, Cathy, if they will put their word in the comments, then that gives you one step. And we would love to see that. I would love to see, okay, I'm going to put another. I want to see 100 words. I want 100 of you guys to put your word in the comments. It's really easy. You just type your one word and then Karen will see that. And then, you know, you can reach out to her and give her your address so she can mail it. And I've been the recipient of that word several times. Oh, that's cool, Lynne. Of that, where she's mailed me the card. So it is really nice. And so one of the things, you guys, as once you decide on your word, and if you haven't done it yet, you still have, I mean, and hey, if you went over to the 2nd or the 3rd of January, it's not a big deal. But, you know, as you focus on it, really pray about it. Where do you feel God leading you for next year? What does he want you to experience? And I remember, Lynne, one year, I don't remember what year it was, your word was joy. You wanted
So
to,
it was comfort and joy. I decided to give myself 3.
yeah. And it, you know, and it was interesting because you did intentionally do some things to bring more joy in your life. And those are the things we can do when it's that important to you, when you have that 1 or 2 words, whatever that is.
When we
so
were
it is-
talking about the 2 words, I did purposeful fun. And that was a mental for me, purposeful fun, make time to have fun, because I tend to be a bit driven. And one of my words, of course, was purpose and then servant and those kind of words as far as leadership. And so purposeful fun came to my brain and I was like, Lord, I can't do 2 words. Didn't you understand the assignment? And he, of course, is going, thank you for your input, Catherine. And so anyway, purposeful fun was my word for the year. And it was a very cool year, as a matter of fact. So I find it just amazing when he dropped things in our laps. What are we thinking of as far as, nice, fun idea. And isn't it interesting that Nancy and Debbie have had a similar journey this year, and they each picked the same word. So I thought, once again, Lord Jesus, you can't outgive God. And he's just, he shows us that in Fun Fearless Female Global Community of Christian Women all the time.
Yeah, he really does. And
It's funny when you were talking about servant and, you know, and servant leadership. I was working with a young man who initially I was working with him to get a job. He was able to get his dream job, and he ended up moving to another city. So he needed to create a life for himself. And he's very introverted. And he said one of his goals was to find friends and to do that so his first search became, what church do I want to belong to? And of course, there were networking meetings or group meetings, and for the young Christians in that church. And he talked about how nervous he was going to those things. And I said, something that changed, really flipped it for me, was go into that experience and be a host. Host everybody else. And you didn't start the meeting, you're not running it, but host people. So if you see somebody standing by himself, go over and talk to that person. If you see somebody who's confused or, or something else, host that person. And I told him the story about how I was on a murder trial in a jury, and I was the foreperson for the jury. And I made it my goal to host all my other jurors. And how that changed the environment, I had no more power than anybody else, but I wanted to put my listening skills and my questioning skills there so that people felt involved. And when it was time to do the deliberation, I said, okay, the only thing I've ever seen about this stuff is the movies where they have, they do the secret ballot where everybody can write guilty or not guilty, or we can just go around the table and have people say what it is that they believe. And I said, so do people want to keep it secret, or do you feel comfortable enough with the group to be able to speak it out loud and explain why? And they chose we can speak it out loud. So the idea is, if you're feeling nervous about something, being a servant, host everybody else. Make everybody focus on everybody else and how they're feeling and how they're doing. It makes me less nervous when I do that. And it allows me to be a servant as well.
I think a lot of people just picked up their pencils, Lynn, and started writing down host as well. So I think you've been a catalyst to help other servant leaders get their word. That's very cool.
Yeah,
That
it
would be
really
lovely.
is. There's just so many choices. I mean, just so many ways and how they can work in your life. And I love it because I think you said it earlier, Lynn. I grew up being told to do your New Year's resolutions, right? Well, I learned pretty quickly that did not work because I wasn't committed. I mean, it's like, oh, it sounds good. Oh yeah, I want to lose 20 pounds and I want to blah, 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 blah. And I was never that committed. It wasn't like something I really had a vision of. I love your thing about, having a vision for what that is. And I've done an exercise with some of my coaching clients that when we get into it, to actually visualize where you want to be 5 years from now, like in a business situation in particular, but it works in every other area. Where do you want to be? What do you want your life to look like 5 years from now? And when I first heard of that, I thought it just was crazy, but I've done it over in the past, not recently, so maybe I should, but it is nice because then I don't know what you would know, but somehow it opens your brain to possibilities and new expectations. And like, okay, well, if God, because I believe all of that comes from the Lord. So if God opens my mind and has you see yourself in a certain place in 5 years, if it becomes that important to you that that's the vision that you want to go, then it'll come. So what what is it, your life or something, your life will move in the direction of your most obvious thought or your most, what is that, Lynn? I think you probably know that.
We are what we think about most of the time.
Yeah, that's an easier way of saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so what you think about, you bring about. So a man thinketh, so he is. So whatever your word is, whatever your intention for this year, I really would love it. I'm going to post it out there myself. And Karen, good morning. She is here. So like, yay. Sorry, I was looking at the other screen saying yay to you. So thank you for being willing to do that. And goal is, somebody can put it in there. Say, Delinda said that. I'll go back to it later. 100, y'all. We have 1,500 people in our Fun Fearless group. There is no reason why we can't have 100 people. Sorry, Karen, going to give you a lot of work. 100 people give their word of intention for the year. So
she's very generous, and I think that would be, I think she would love to be able to gift out 100 of those dynamic cards, because again, servant leader is Karen, and she is such a dynamic giver, and again, so generous. So no wonder you chose her as your leader for nonprofits for your luncheons, Delinda.
Yeah, well, she kind of just stepped up and said she'd do it. So, God bless me.
Not a surprise there.
Not a surprise at all. So, oh my gosh. Well, it has been a fun morning. Thank you, both you ladies. I don't know. I haven't looked ahead. I just barely have looked into the first week of January, just enough to get to next week. But I'll be looking ahead to see what our fifth Tuesday will be for our voices and views, and our other ladies will be back with us. But it's so fun to have this back and forth, our positive uh, version of the view. So,
I actually did look ahead, go figure, and I wrote it down already. It's March 31st will be our next time for 5 Tuesdays.
thank you, Kathy. You are always so ahead of things like that.
Well, I have to keep track for me to write it down. So I have it, first of all, to look forward to, of course, but second of all, so I don't forget.
And you know what is really exciting too, when you really look around, and this is something y'all might want to do as you're closing out the year and going into next year. Look around and see the people that God has brought into your life. We all have strengths and we all have areas that maybe we're not so strong. And I'm telling you, God is so faithful. These women that you see right here, plus numerous others, God has brought into my life because they make me complete. And it's like, Cathy is the one, she keeps me on track. She does lots of things for that. Lynne expands my mind and helping me understand how the brain works, and just her friendship. We just have so many. Nancy has been this wonderful. I just don't know how to describe Nancy.
She is so filled with inspiration. I have found that personally. So she is so filled with inspiration.
She is. And God knows what you need. And if what you need is some really wonderful people, if you're looking and you say, Lord, I need some friends. I need some people that can come along and share this journey with me. He will bring him to you. Part of that is releasing. I'm going to tell y'all, some of it is releasing the control we think we have on our lives. And then the other side of that is being open to receive, because God will send you those godly people into your life that will complement you and will make you a better person and make you whole. So I am
and occasionally inspire you while kicking your ass.
and keeping me on task, because that's where I can get off. Oh gosh, thank you, ladies. This has been great. All of you. I don't see any more comments out there, but I'm gonna probably wear y'all out. I'm gonna just comment so much until you comment. There we go. So, all right. Happy New Year. God bless you. This has been a wonderful year, and look forward to how God is going to use each of you and all of you that are watching. And I'm going back to my tag that I've been using for years, because it feels right. And it's like, life is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. So choose wisely. What are you going to choose this year? I choose to be a servant for the Lord. Who are you going to serve? Go out, make it a great week. Love you, and see you next year, everybody. And let me get, okay. Bye, everybody.